back in on a Wednesday here on 5 Clubs, live on Golf Channel. And this segment is brought to you by Peter Millar, appropriately, not just because of me, proudly wearing this great apparel, the lifestyle brand for everybody for 16 years. You can go to Peter Millar and petermillar.com. I say it appropriately because the guy who's joining me now wears it far better than I do, including if he put on this little shirt jacket and took Kate out to dinner, she'd say, honey, you look great. That, of course, is Justin Rose, 13-time winner on the PGA Tour, gold medalist 7 times on the European Ryder Cup team. He joins me from Pebble Beach, where he won in 2023. How you doing, my friend?
Gary, how you doing, buddy? Well, yeah, you are looking sharp, that is for sure.
You can get anything I've got. You probably have far more than what I have. I know you love wearing Peter Millar. All right, let me ask you something. You know, you win in 23 at Pebble. And I was talking to Lucas Glover a couple weeks ago about doubt and belief. And when you have an ebb, you're hoping the ebb ends sooner than later. And look, as great as you guys are and your focus is remarkable, doubt is inevitable. How much doubt toward the middle, the latter part of 2022 did you feel or experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think in some ways, obviously winning in 2023 at Pebble, people were like, oh, it's 4 years since you've won. And I guess the good news is I hadn't really realized that it had been that long. But obviously, clearly, I'd realized that I wasn't playing anywhere near the level I wanted to play in. And obviously, coming, let's just say, off the top of the mountain, getting to world number 1 in 2019 or 2018, 2019, I was definitely sliding the wrong way. And I guess took some action by the end of 2022, went up to Mark Blackburn, asked him for an opinion, wanted him to take a look at my swing. And he kind of gave me some nice pointers and helped sort of steer the ship a little bit. And I kind of still felt within my heart of hearts that I had some good golf and some good golf left in me. And I certainly wasn't willing to go out on like a little bit of a slide all the way to the bottom. So I had a lot of motivation to try to fix things and to still love the game. That's always one of my benchmarks is like, can I go and play golf by myself on a summer evening with long shadows, carrying my own clubs and enjoy the game of golf? And that was yes. The answer to that was yes. So I still kind of intrinsically loved the game and have the motivation, but kind of just felt like I needed some new ideas to sink my teeth into. And I guess, yeah, end of 22 was definitely a bit of a turning point for sure.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned Mark, and you used the word slide. One of the things that he talked about with you was that, and I'm just from his own words, when he started watching you, there was slide toward the target on the downswing. And when you identify whether it's a recurring fault or habit that you've gotten into, is that immediately confidence building that you've identified something you can now attack? Or is it something that can be frustrating, like, my God, how long have I been doing this? Because that was something that I know he spoke about.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit of both, actually. So I think I'm quite a curious guy, and I feel like I can make a change. I just need to understand the change. And I think that's where Mark's fantastic, is he can quantify things sort of somewhat scientifically, whether it be force plates or, 3D swing data. So I felt like not only did he have a concept or he could tell me what a fault was, he could back it up with evidence and numbers and metrics. But the other thing I loved about where Mark came at it with my golf swing is that he had studied my golf swing, or he was very aware of my golf swing in terms of the patterns that I had when I played my best. So that gave me a lot of confidence in him as a coach. And the other thing that I loved about Mark is that all of his players swing it so differently. Whether it was a Ches Reavie or obviously a Max Homa, very orthodox, or Daniel Berger, or guys that were strong grips, for example. Like, he didn't have one way of doing it. So I kind of I really just, from that point of view, kind of really liked the way he brought things to the table. So we definitely honored a few of the past patterns, but then he kind of made me realize where I was kind of getting out of kilter for sure.
You won't remember this, but you may remember that we played a Pro-Am together in New Orleans many years ago. And on the 8th hole, you said, Gary, you move off the ball on your takeaway. I want you to think about the sensation of pressure on the inside of your right hip, kind of in that crease area. Do you know that I leaned on that thought alone for almost 4 years?
That's awesome, man. I'll tell you what, I wish I'd have probably listened to my own advice, because I was starting to drift off it. And so for me, staying centered is very important. I guess, being fairly tall, when I start to sort of shift back and forth, some bad things can happen. So yeah, that's a big field for me too.
The idea of guys in their 40s, and it's interesting, if you go back 20 years, 2005, there were 8 guys in their 40s who won that year on the PGA Tour. 3 won multiple times. The guy who won the Players was 48. You're now like an endangered species. The guy in his 40s that's winning golf tournaments. Do you have any theory as to why the frequency of guys in their 40s is not dried up altogether, because you're proving it, you've already won again this year? Why the opportunities seem more infrequent than it was the case 20 years ago?
Yeah, so I think the game has shifted in more of a power trajectory for sure in the last maybe decade. I think there's just more and more young talent emerging, and I think this talent seems to be emerging a little bit more ready to win. It seems like obviously the college process in the US is definitely such a strong breeding ground for these guys to come out and be pretty much tour ready. So that wasn't really a way I grew up playing golf, but you know, the old adage of paying your dues and maybe in your early 30s, you sort of were in your prime. That sort of mindset has definitely shifted now into these youngsters feeling like they're coming out and ready to dominate. And I feel like they're getting frustrated by the age of 25, 26 if they're not winning major championships. So I think the there has shifted. So maybe just the fact that they are just ready to compete and win possibly is making, obviously, clearly on the back end, less opportunity for guys to kind of get it done with experience or whatever it might be. But I think there's still a lot of talent out here, and obviously, hopefully I'm proving that. And I see guys like Adam Scott as well who could break out. I mean, I say break out. He's obviously been a legend of the game for a long time, but he has the speed and the ball striking and the capabilities to continue to hang at the highest level as well. But if you do look at the rankings and you look at the world rankings, there aren't that many guys in their 40s that are in the top 50 in the world and kind of competing at the highest level. So I do not take it for granted. It takes a lot of sacrifice with all of the other elements that you have to start kind of putting into your game, whether that be focusing on recovery a bit more or kind of like leaning into some certain strengths, because inherently there might be other parts of your game that just don't feel as natural anymore.
I think you're right. The gestation period for young players is shorter now. I believe they're more refined skill and scoring than they were 15, 20 years ago. Look, it's admirable that how you're digging deep to do what you're doing. Let me ask you 2 more things and let you go. You've won a lot of big events. You've won World Golf Championships. You've won playoff events. Obviously, you've won a gold medal. You've won a U.S. Open. The idea of an elevated tier and maybe the premise that less, but if it feels like more, it can be more. Do you think that's sustainable?
So I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I think what I would like to see, I love the fact that there's these elevated. I think what you want in the game of golf, what the top players have been talking about for the longest time, is that they want to play together more regularly. And I think that obviously there has been that shift on the PGA Tour to where there's now a decent number of these elevated events where the top players do come together more regularly. But I think that has created a bit of an A and B schedule. So, you come through, let's call it, come through the Nationwide Corn Ferry Tour or PGA Tour U, and you make it to the PGA Tour, but you haven't really made it to the PGA Tour. You made it to like PGA Tour B in a sense. So I think that there's still that sort of that model that we're striving for to kind of make this PGA Tour product the most elevated product that kind of offers opportunity for the majority of the membership to kind of compete all together at the same time. And I think that a little bit more sort of unity amongst the sort of a bit more parity amongst all tournaments, so you can build your schedule in terms of like tournaments that you like to play, courses you like to play. You don't feel like you just have to play for a purse or for points. You can actually begin to play like a schedule that suits your game. So I think that's sort of what we're striving to still achieve. It's obviously very difficult to get to that point, otherwise we'd have done it a long time ago as a tour. But I think there's a lot of sort of smart minds around it and a lot of players taking a lot of ownership in the process. So hopefully we're going to find the right balance.
Yeah, look, you're a Premier League guy. I think elevation and relegation can be very, very compelling. And I think that tier, it can also, that always is going to have great storylines. All right, we're going to do this in 60 seconds. 5 to go for Justin Rose. Favorite restaurant on the road on the PGA Tour? Do you have a spot that you enjoy going to annually somewhere in this country?
Nobu, Malibu.
Oh, well, it's not only Nobu, it's in Malibu. I mean, 100%. How good is that? All right, I know Fooch loves the ponies. Have you ever taken any advice from him and actually won anything on a thoroughbred horse racing? Anything that he's given you?
No, but his contacts kind of got me into the game. There was a period of time where I bought Kate a racehorse for her birthday, and that actually turned into not a bad decision. The horse did pretty well. But listen, Fooch is I love him to death. But if you like to finish second, you follow his tips. Yeah.
All right. The best shot you've ever seen in person by anybody. What's the best shot that you were a witness to?
I forget what round, I forget what day, and I forget the exact situation, but Cam Young being right of the green in the rough at Riviera on the 10th hole, and to a sort of somewhat middle right pin, I just don't know how he hit the goal shot. I was on the 11th tee, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun to watch. What's he going to do here? Next thing, he hit it to like 6 inches, and I was like, one of those jaw-dropping moments. So I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, I don't, based on the angle you just described, I don't even know how that's achievable. All right, who's the best singer on the European Ryder Cup bus?
I feel like I'm gonna give it to Gibbo. He's not one of our players, but he's the heart and soul of that whole team. He organizes all these very incredibly special experiences for us all, and he's the one with the playlist. So he leads the charge.
Okay, you gave him some shine. All right, last thing. I know how much you appreciate special places, and you won a U.S. Open at Marion. You didn't take an honorary membership. You're a regular member. You have an investment emotionally and intellectually in the club, and I know you love taking friends there. Is there a golf course in America you haven't played that you're very motivated to get to at some point?
Oh, yeah, great question. I think it would be the Bandon Dunes properties. I haven't been out that way, so I feel like that'd be something pretty epic.
It's Mecca, and look, all you guys, it's your job. But what you and so many of your peers have not been to Bandon. You owe it to yourself to do it with your buddies. It's just fantastic. Listen, you're very busy. Congratulations on a great start. Always good to chat with you.
Thanks, Gary. Keep up the good work, my man, and see you soon.